point that is that a whole lot of medical systems which use these herbs use them within the context of notions of what people are, notions of physiology, notions of pathogenesis, which are not grounded in scientific materialism in the way in which we understand it. And I think that one of the points that was being made here, and I don't know whether Hein really sort of agreed with me, is that science actually has the potential, yeah, the role of science is not to make commitments about ontology, about what there is, and say that everything is reducible to the physical or not. We have the Pope arriving tomorrow, and a whole bunch of bishops in the House of Lords. Now, you know, you might take the sort of Dawkins-eye view on that. Personally, I think that they're a rather good buffer against scientific materialism. But the issue still arises that there have been traditional forms of analysis of how these plants interact with people over the long term, and that those theoretical systems are capable of making empirically testable predictions, and should perhaps our endeavour around these things be actually look at whether the theoretical systems actually can successfully predict any empirically measurable consequences, rather than the nonsensical notion of putting all of these bloody materials through double-blind, random, placebo-controlled trials for, you know, every combination of symptom, sign, pathological entity which exists. Which is the way that the biomedical industry.
Yeah, you've made the point, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but except to say that I'm disagreeing with you. And if you
the argument has some.
No, if you believe that the illness and all these things has a spiritual dimension, and therefore there is a spiritual dimension in the broadest sense for treating illnesses, I don't have any disagreement. But I think every single herbalist would not want the new antibiotic or new pill not to have had proper trials to show it's safe. And I just don't understand why herbalists won't accept that we have to see whether herbal medicines are safe.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right. Okay. Right. Good. A different question.
No, it's very in some ways very similar, because I hear you saying, well, I believe this, or this is my opinion. What's the possibility of dialogue for you with anybody who doesn't believe what you believe?
Oh, you could see.
What's the possibility for dialogue, for actually, like even within the field of science, Professor Butler, for instance, said that some scientists, or there's certain streams within science at the moment that move towards the possibility of polypharmacy by combining things again. Yes. So you don't have to go into another Chinese medicine or Indian medicine. You just stay within the domain of biomedical science. And even within the domain of biomedical science, from what I understand, there are people who might take a slightly different opinion to just using single herbs. So I'm interested in not whether one is right or not. I'm asking, how can one, when there are different opinions will always exist. So I'm just interested in how one can create a dialogue. Otherwise, it's always a might is right question. Yeah?
Yep. It's very difficult to have a dialogue. It really is difficult to have a dialogue, as you could see from what I've been saying and the questions which have come up. But there is, in between, there have been approaches here of how would it work on a practical level. You know, why does aloe vera help in burns? Why does dittany of Crete act as a vulnerary, and things like that? What was the basis for all the things? There are areas of overlap, and St. John's wort was a very good example of something which there was a dialogue, there was then trials, then was shown to be effective, but then the side effects of St. John's wort were shown. But that was done by the allopathic side. It wasn't done by the herbal medicine side. They didn't have the technology. And the other thing, of course, is that people slag off the pharmaceutical trade as only being interested in the money. But when you see what they did with Tamiflu, I mean, they made a huge amount of money, but they got that from a plant. And the amount of work to get Tamiflu was a huge industrial process to get it. they do look at plants which have a likelihood of producing allopathic medicines, and they look very carefully. They're not there just to suppress it. If they've got something which is going to make money for them and which is going to be effective, they will do it. And may I just finish, because I'm not going to take any more questions, because I can see my chair lady here. But I said to my son, who's a functional genomicist, that he doesn't study the anatomy of the gene, how it works, what switches it on and off. I said, number 2, son, when are you going to find the gene which you can give people to cure them of their diabetes? And he looked at me pityingly. He said, Father, he said, you're naive. What is the point of the pharmaceutical company abolishing the use of insulin, for which they get £10 a day from millions of people around the world, all right, and producing a single cure for stopping their income stream? Not a hope. So there is hope that the pharmaceutical industry will go on looking at herbal medicines to try and find chemicals which they can use and benefit mankind, and that's my lot, all right? But I think there is a dialogue, but it's pretty difficult.
We could have gone on all day, I reckon.
We could. I'm sorry. Anybody who wants to read any of my informative literature, a fiver. It's mostly history, all right, with a nice little picture. Thank you. What? Sorry? Yeah, I do.
Gets out your funny.